every time the Giants play on prime time, it's an ugly, lower scoring game. We saw it last year against the Bengals, 17-7. Um, Graham Gano walk-off field goal, 17-16. Book it. Giants
Oh,
W.
this is going to sound like so much hate, and I swear it's not. Welcome back to the Warner Brothas Podcast. Tonight it's just Kyle and Tim. It's just us two. Timmy, what's up? How you doing?
Doing well. I'm definitely getting over some sort of sickness, flu, cold. I don't know, but it's been hitting me a little bit today. So took a nice fat nap earlier. Feel a bit better.
Know how that is. Tis the season. I think it was 2 weeks ago. I was pretty sick on here. It sounded hella congested on the mic when I listened back. But yeah, hope you're getting well. Hopefully this football can cure you. Week 3 picks we will be doing, but we're going to start with last night's game. Pretty good game, honestly. It was a little better than I was expecting. What were your thoughts on the game as a whole?
I thought the Dolphins played a lot better than I was expecting them to. Like, I picked it to be a 20-point win. That wasn't really the case at all. They were really in this game at all points up until the first down at the end there to pretty much ice the game away. I thought that the Dolphins' defense did not look as bad as it has the last 2 weeks. I thought it actually got some stops.
Yeah.
Which was good. If you can say half of the offensive possessions of Buffalo are punts, that's a good game, okay? Because the Ravens didn't do that, and the Jets definitely didn't do that last week. So I thought that was actually a pretty good look from their defense. You're playing against one of the best teams in the league, and you're at least within one strike at most points of this game. Tua looked pretty good for most of it up until the pick. That pick he threw, though, pretty similar to the last 2 picks he threw against New England and one of the picks he threw against Indianapolis. So this is becoming an issue where the middle of the field, about 10 yards from the line of scrimmage, he just doesn't know how to judge what height to put on the ball, and then he just throws a pick every time. So that sucked to see, but we did see a pretty good coaching game from Mike McDaniels. I thought he coached pretty well. They scored when they needed to score, and then Tua kind of turned it over and ended the game for him that way. But Mike McDaniel coaching for his job, I think he did pretty damn good, all things considered here.
I agree with you. And on the defensive side of things for the Dolphins, the trouble I'm having was, okay, did they actually show some fight for their coach? Did they actually show some fight for their season? Or is that a proxy of, okay, they're a divisional opponent, we're going to see them again, we watch more tape on them than anybody, it's a better showing? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because if it's the former, if it's because they were actually trying to show some fight, which they did on multiple third downs, they got stops, they got sacks. If they continue with that, this could still be a bubble team. I mean, the offense, we know the offense can produce. The offense did produce. Mike McDaniel's a good play caller. That's never been an issue. But if they go back to like week 1 against the Colts, if they just show no fight at all, because we knew the secondary was going to be weak. We thought the front 7 would be better. Front 7 showed up last night. Secondary, even at points, showed up last night. If there's more of that, who knows if it'll keep Mike McDaniel around for another season, but it'll at least like look good on the tape for him. It'll at least look good on the tape for the defense. So we'll see. Who do they actually have next week? Do you know?
I don't know off the top of my head. I could probably figure it out, actually, because I have Jalen Waddle, so I should know coming up here. But yeah, I think it's tough to say about his job and like who they play the Jets next week. So they can definitely win that game, and then maybe he starts actually winning a few games and keeping his job alive. The thing is, like, at this point, being 0-3, it takes one more meltdown of a game to just be gone. You know, he could be 3-4 and they could just call it at that point if it is like a really bad loss. And like you said, they got to play Buffalo again, so that could very well be the calling card that comes in fires him for it. So it'll be tough either way. I was never like preseason. I was all over the fire McDaniels train, so I do think he will be gone before the end of the season. But he'll probably get 1 or 2 wins before they let him go.
Yeah, there's a chance. Like you said, Jets next week. I know they got the Panthers week 6.
Yep.
So I mean, there's a chance they could go 2 of their next 3,
2 and
maybe all
4.
3. So
Yeah.
all depends. All depends. There's plenty of talent. I will say, like I talked about their defense having fight. There was times on, late drives, and especially on that last drive before the pick, where Tua picked up a long 3rd down, picked up a 4th down. Like they were showing all the signs of like fight, and it was starting to feel like a playoff game a little bit, to the point where you're like, damn, if they score here, not only is there time for Buffalo to score again, but like the Dolphins get the ball right back and they could score, or they're going to go into overtime. So it was looking like a great game. And then I'm not going to lie, man, when Tua threw that pick, I don't think I've laughed that loud at a pick in a long time. Like I was laughing like it was a funny scene in a movie, bro. Like I was like, you did all that to throw that basic ass pick. And that's the thing. You said it. Like he wasn't throwing picks like these before, right? Like he was definitely a quarterback who you say like, okay, when the lights are the brightest, you don't necessarily want to, pick them to win or bet on them or anything. Like he's more than likely going to lose that game. But he wasn't throwing bum ass picks like that. Like that's a rookie ass pick that he just gave away to the Bills. Hilarious. It was hilarious. Though I was hoping they would score there and, give us something, but it was comedy nonetheless.
I did like what I saw from both Jalen Waddle and Hill. I think Hill needs to be a little bit more involved. I don't remember how many catches he had, but it just seemed like in the big 3rd down and long or even 4th down situations, Waddle was their guy, and that worked out really well. There's no reason that can't be Tyreek. Like he still has it. Oh, and then NFL, man. I don't know what local channel runs this when it's on Prime. Is that CBS or whatever, something like that?
I think it's strictly Prime.
Just Prime. Okay. No, that makes sense. No reason for you to call out Tyreek Hill like that mid-broadcast, just bringing up his domestic abuse things that's been running and how the NFL is doing an investigation for the last 5 years on it. They come back from a commercial break, and then a 2-minute segment is this girl reading from a script about how bad of a person Tyreek Hill is. And I'm like, what the hell? He's out here catching strays, and we're trying to watch a damn football game. What does that have to do with the 3rd and 8 that's going on right now? Like, that blew my mind.
I was also very confused by that, to the point where I rewound it, because I'm like, the way she was talking about it was like he still has a chance at suspension.
Yeah, like they're looking into it right now.
Because I was very confused by that. I rewound it and everything. And I'm like, all right, what's going on here? Because it did seem very out of the blue. Because Tyreek's had his off-field issues, like plenty of them. Don't get me wrong, but we hadn't heard about it in some time. It did feel completely out of place. Like, even if you want to do that, maybe do that in the pregame if you want.
Yeah,
but it felt extremely out of place. Because I was like, what, in the middle of the 3rd quarter or something like that?
It was either coming back from the half or after the Buffalo's first drive in the second half, and they were just like, let's designate a commercial break return to just burying Tyreek Hill on live television, on prime time television. If this was like a 1 o'clock Sunday game, like, sure, whatever. No, there was 20-something million people watching this game, and they're just like, yeah, let's ruin this man. So, like whatever.
Right. Push the button right now.
Yeah. What if he's innocent? Now you just did all this defamation and stuff like that for no reason, and now he's the one that can possibly, potentially countersue on to CBS or whatever, whoever Prime. Like, it just made no sense at all. If it's one thing for Al Michaels or whatever to just be like, yeah, Tyreek Hill has his off the field issues, but he's a great football player. Boom, done. Hint at it. Don't dig into it. It was just stupid.
So this is an article from a day ago. So apparently the NFL recently got involved. So that would be why she brought it up.
Gotcha.
So while that does seem random on her part, I got to say, why would the NFL choose now to get involved rather than, because we've heard about these allegations for sure a year ago.
Season. Yeah.
Right?
Like, yeah.
So it's interesting why the NFL's gotten involved now because Tyreek, we've heard stuff about Tyreek his entire career. So it's very
Yep.
interesting as to why they would choose now. But we never know with the NFL. The NFL seems very almost arbitrary with how they deal with all suspensions, honestly. Because like with the Rashee Rice thing, initially that seemed like it was going to hang over a lot of the season, and then lo and behold, he's out for the first 6 games of the season. So you just never know. And then of course, the whole thing with Tom Brady years ago, where God, like I still don't believe he deserved a 4-game suspension, but whatever. But I mean, it just seems very arbitrary with how they go about all kinds of suspensions and what players they go at. It's interesting.
It definitely is.
That being said, the NFL is king. There was once upon a time where people would really get up in arms about how they were, how they handled their suspensions, and it seems to be less and less. People don't take as many shots at the NFL as a league anymore, even with their concussions and stuff. People don't. Well, Tim, without further ado, should we jump into these games?
Let's get into it.
Let's do it. So, interesting one. This would have been an interesting game anyway, as is, just because of the matchup. We got the Raiders going to Maryland to face the Commanders. Washington's a 3-point favorite, and this will not be Jaden Daniels starting for the Washington Commanders. We will have Marcus Mariota. So 3 points there. That seems interesting as far as how the Commanders season's been going so far. As far as now, Marcus Mariota as your starting quarterback. Granted, he's looked good in the times he has subbed in for Jaden Daniels. A 3-point seems like a lot against the Raiders. How do you feel about this?
I thought the same thing at the beginning of the week. This line, assuming Jaden Daniels was going to play, was 6.5 points, and I immediately took 6.5 for Vegas because there's a good chance Jaden didn't play. And like you said, the way Washington's played, the way the Raiders have played, 6 just seems like a little bit much to me. I'm going to take Vegas in this game. I think they can win this one for sure. I think it's a lot closer than 3.5 points. I thought the Raiders, their run defense looks pretty good. The defense as a whole doesn't look bad at all. They just need to button some stuff up, and then they just need to get Genty going, and they're ready to win some football games. So I'll take the Raiders here. I think it is kind of a boring game, so I'll take it 20 to 14. So I'll give them a nice win here.
Yeah, it seems like the Raiders need this win, especially coming off Monday night. Monday night was a terrible showing for them, to be honest with you, and a terrible showing for their offensive line. Their offensive line has not looked good, and just because of how competitive their division is, like it just seems like they need this game a little more than Washington. Now, that being said, with Washington, that division looks a little more competitive than we thought initially, right? With the Giants, with the Cowboys, or actually, we all pretty much thought it was going to be competitive, to be honest with you. But the Cowboys and their offense look good. So, I mean, the Commanders might need this game depending on how long Jaden Daniels will be out. I lean with you, though. I could see the Raiders going in and winning. That being said, the West Coast going to East Coast, that always scares me. The West Coast team playing at 1 o'clock on the East, but Mariota, that might be a boost. And let's be honest, these are the type of games that you got Pete Carroll for. These are the type of games you got Geno Smith for. Genty, I've heard Keenan say this a ton of times about Bijan, like in the early years of Bijan in Atlanta. He said, like, why don't they feature him more? That's how I feel about Genty with the Raiders through 2 games. I feel like they got to get him more touches for as high as they took him. Granted, the offensive line isn't good, but get him involved more in the passing game as well, I'd like to see. So I'm right in line with you, man. I'm going to go, let's say 21-15. We basically got the same score here, but I'm going to go 21-15 Raiders. Covering and then some.
I didn't really think about it, but the Raiders are on a short week, and Washington is on a long week.
It's true.
So if I could tweak my score to 20-17, that'd feel a little bit better to me. Just give them an extra field goal. That's what those extra days give you.
For sure. And I don't know, it just seems more of a must-win to me for the Raiders. Could be completely wrong here, but that's the way I feel. Next game, Falcons going to Carolina. Bitter rivalry. The Falcons are favored by 5.5. And the Carolina Panthers are the Carolina Panthers. Not much more to say about them. How do you feel about this game, Tim?
The Falcons looked good the last 2 weeks. The Panthers have not looked good. I really want to pick Carolina. I really feel like this is a trap game that Atlanta's just not. They're coming in expecting to just demolish them. They have a great running offense. Carolina has a terrible running defense. Like, it should just go for 200 plus rushing yards and they win this game 27-10 or something like that. The Panthers, man, it's already at the point in the season where they just don't care. Like, at this point, you might as well just ball out and just start calling crazy plays, start taking deep shots. Like, what are you playing for? So I think the Panthers put the fear of God in the Falcons here. Give it 27-25 field goal win for Atlanta here. I think after this week we'll be talking about the Panthers a little bit different on how they've played.
It feels like one of those games, right? We're still early on to where teams haven't caught their stride yet. NFC South games, the teams hate each other so much. These games, no matter what the record, I don't care what the record is, I don't care what the team is. These Falcons Panthers games, these Saints Panthers, Saints they always end up being tough games, one way or another. So I agree with you. It does seem like one of those games where, for whatever reason, the Panthers put the fear of God into the Falcons. Listen, backdoor, we call him backdoor Brace for a reason. He's always going to find a way to cover. I mean, I could absolutely see it. Look, I'm going to go. It's going to seem like we're like picking the same scores here. I'm going to go 27 for the Falcons as well. I'm going to go 22 for the Panthers. I think they keep it right in line with that 5. I don't know if it'll be quite as close, but I could see Bryce get a backdoor cover, especially because, that being said, the Falcons defense looked really good. It's looked really good. But if Bryce can look anything like he did in the second half last week, granted, the Cardinals secondary was very banged up. Who knows? This is a prove-it game for us, though, for the Panthers. Like, you got to show us something after the first 2 weeks.
Definitely. On Sunday Night Football, what the Falcons, they were getting pressure. They were getting good edge rushing. They were getting just all across the line. They were generating pressure. That's kind of like a perfect storm for this Carolina game because they don't have a good offensive line. So like I said, Atlanta should kill this team. They should beat them by 2-3 scores here. And I just can't see it happening the way Atlanta has always Atlanted. Like, the last time they played each other in the regular season, Carolina won in overtime, like 44-38. So like you said, no matter what, these teams are going to come to play. It's just going to be, whatever reason, it's either going to be a high-scoring slugfest or a low-scoring one. But, yeah, it'll be close.
And the line reflects that. Anytime you see a 4.5, 5.5, like, that shows you they don't really know what to make of this game as well. That's just kind of like, you go ahead and do what you want with this type of line. So, by the way, Falcons got rid of Young Wei Koo today. I think it's John Parker Romo is their starting kicker now. So There's that. So, I mean, if there were to be a game-winning field goal, like you said, you would have a successful week on SNF last week. Any final words on this matchup? All right, let's move on to the Packers going to Cleveland to face the Browns. The Packers are 7.5-point favorite. Very interesting line to me, given that the Ravens were at 11.5-point favorite at this point last week to the Browns. And the Packers, you could say, just going off the first 2 games, you could say the Packers have a better defense. I think they for sure have a better pass rush, at least, of course, with Micah there. So this is an interesting line that the Packers are getting 4 less points against the Browns in Cleveland. And it's not like they have to travel far going from Green Bay to Cleveland. So how do you feel?
This is a trap game. This is a game where Green Bay should absolutely dominate this game. The way they've played the first 2 weeks, the way the Browns have played the first 2 weeks, we're just lining up for like a 33-13 game. Like, it's going to be close. I'm tempted to even take the Browns here and just say we get a defensive match where it's like super low scoring. But I'll take Green Bay. I'm not going to have them cover. Give it to me 20-16. I think it'll be close. Vegas is going to make some money on this game.
You sure you don't want to take the Browns? I mean, you guys got a big enough lead on me to where, I mean, if you take
no, the Browns, I mean, I can't do it. I can't do it. My Super Bowl contending Packers, I think I can't do it.
It does seem like a trap game. I agree with you there. We talk about rest though. Packers coming off 10 days rest. The Browns are the Browns. The Browns, as we know, have a super talented team everywhere but the quarterback position. And even Flacco's not bad. Here's the thing with Flacco, though. You give him time, he's probably better than still 75% of the league as far as just dissecting defenses and being able to deliver a ball. He's still got the arm strength. That's fine. Thing is, when you pressure him, he's just like, fuck it. Like, we're not going to the playoffs. I'm going to let this ball go. And if the Packers intercept it or if the Ravens intercept it, so be it. I'm going to still start. And if I don't start, there's 4 or 5 other backup quarterbacks here because Cleveland just wants to do that. So, like, yeah, it sounds all well and good until he gets pressure, until he's got Micah breathing down his neck. Then he's like, you know what? I'm just going to throw this ball so I don't get a fumble on top of that, or so I don't get blindsided, whatever. So I agree with you. It is a trap game, but 10 days rest, not much travel at all going from Wisconsin to Cleveland. And we just saw what Cleveland did against, I mean, they played with Baltimore. Don't get me wrong. They're supposed to, but that's a more talented team than them. Green Bay is a more talented team than Cleveland. I tend to think they'll cover here. I'll give them 30-20 here. I'll give the Browns 20 points, and even that seems high. I got to be honest with you. I'm doing everything I can to not pick a 31-14, but we'll go with 30-20, and Green Bay's going to win. Super weird game here, Tim. Steelers going to New England to face the Patriots. They're a 1.5 point favorite. I'll be honest with you, Tim. This is one of the lines I looked at like in the preseason. I was just curious, like what this game would be, and the Pats were favored by 2.5 points initially, which I thought when I saw that before, I thought that was like way too much respect for the Pats. I didn't think they had done anything to earn that. And if you heard us talk about the Steelers earlier in the week, my problem with them is their defense looks a little old, looks a little soft, which I thought it was going to be the defense would be ready and then the offense would grow into things. And the offense is still growing. But the offense looks further along than the defense, which is troubling. But on the other side of things, I have no idea if the Patriots are actually good. I know the Patriots are talented. I know they will eventually be well coached, but I don't know if they're good right now. So I have no clue really what to do with this game. How do you feel about it?
I was tempted to see the line because I just wanted to know which way Vegas was going to lean on this one. Really didn't know. I could have seen an opening at -1.5 for both teams, and then it kind of makes sense. New England's at home here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Home game for New England, so you'd kind of think they give them a couple points there, and that puts them right into the -1.5. So, but it is the other way around, which I think I agree with. I think this is a tighten up game for Pittsburgh. Like I said on one of the last pods we did, I don't think that this defense will be this bad all season long. I think they will have some much better games. And I think this is kind of like a perfect opponent to do it because you still have a young quarterback. We still have offensive line issues. The running game can be good. Like I think Ramondre and Travion can be a really good combo. But they're still kind of featuring Gibson in there, and I just don't like that. So put it all together. I'm going to take Pittsburgh here. I think it'll be a comfortable win too. So I'll take it 22-10.
I'd love to pick the Pats here. I really would. I just truly have no idea if they're good. Now, like you said, this should be a get right spot for the Steelers, for Mike Tomlin and his team. And a Mike Tomlin coach team in the past would get right here. But what I saw from them against Seattle just did not look like your typical Steelers and Mike Tomlin game. They looked unprepared. They did not look well coached. Rodgers had a so-so game. Looked good in the first half. Didn't look as good in the second half. So I really don't know what to make of it. And on top of that, like, if this is a week 8 game, I'd probably take the Pats, but it's still early with them. We've seen their warts already in the first 2 weeks. We saw them win against Miami, but we also know how Miami's secondary can make you look. So there's a chance they could make Drake May look like a young QB, or he could still have success. We saw what the Jets looked like. So I'm struggling. I lean Steelers, and I'm going to pick the Steelers. I'm going to go 22-17. But it's troublesome. It's troublesome. I do not know what to make of this game at all. And it could be an ugly game, or it could be much like the Jets week 1 where we randomly get a shootout and it's a 38-35 game. I'm going to pick the Steelers. I don't feel great about it. I think I picked against the Pats all 3 weeks, actually. So, yeah, not sure how to feel about that either. But moving on to unless you got any more to say about this game, moving on to the Rams and the Eagles. It's going to be one of the marquee games on Sunday. The Eagles are a 3.5-point favorite, not just at 3.5. How do you feel about this game, Tim? Looking forward to it?
3.5 is too many points. I think the Rams have played some pretty damn good football. Week 1 against Houston, I get it. It was kind of a low-scoring game, but Houston's defense is legit. I actually really think it is legit. People think that they can run on them. I don't quite think that that's the case. I think that'll get tightened up pretty soon. And the back end is pretty damn good. They have some very good defensive backs in there. All of that kind of leads towards me taking Los Angeles here. I like their defense. I like their offense. I like Philly's defense, but I don't love their offense. I'm going to trust Matt Stafford and his crew of talent versus more than Jalen Hurts and his. I just don't love that it's on the road. That's like the biggest thing for me. So it is really tough. I think 3.5 is just too many points, though. If it was 2.5 or 1.5, I think I could understand that. These are both 2-0 teams, and like objectively, the Rams have looked better on offense and on, not necessarily on defense, but on offense. That they have looked like a much better machine than the Eagles. So I'm gonna take the Rams. I'm gonna say that the Rams come in here and they win this. And after this week, people will start to get on the Kyle Warner bandwagon and say, hey, maybe Jalen Hurts isn't a great quarterback. He is just a good athlete and a good football player, and we have some problems here. Because I don't think that this is a game against LA that the Eagles' offensive coordinators and play caller is going to be able to start experimenting with anything. I think this defense is legit, and I think they will punish them for it. So I'll take it 24-16, convincing win. We're confused about Philly after this game.
This is a tough one, and these early season marquee games are tough in general, especially when I'm right with you. I think it's going to be an ugly game. Now, if you were going to pick against the Rams, you would go with the mode of, okay, they went to Tennessee last Sunday, had to fly back to LA for a week of practice. Now they're flying back now to the East Coast to face Philly. 3 different time zones, really, because you're going in Central Time Zone for Tennessee. That could be rough. And I've said it before. I said it with the Chiefs game last week with the Eagles. They're made for these ugly games. Like, they're made to grind out these ugly early season games with Saquon, with their big receivers. Is Dallas Goedert playing? Is he coming back? Do we know?
Haven't seen anything. Let me check. I'll figure it out for sure.
That would be key into who I pick. You're right, though. I mean, I can completely see us coming out of this game. Let's say it goes your way, right? Let's say it goes 24-16 in the Rams' favor. I could see a week of people talking, Goddard is playing? Okay.
Yep.
I could see if the Eagles were to lose this game ugly, like you're saying, that we come back and then there's a week of talk of like, how good is Jalen Hurts? And by the way, when I say that, I think you know this, but when I'm talking about that, it's more in response to Keenan's number 5 ranking of him, because I don't think he's a top 5 quarterback, but I do think he's a top 15 quarterback for sure. He's obviously a Super Bowl leading quarterback, right? He's been to 2, he's won 1. I just don't know. Again, Baker's the guy behind him. I don't know if he's as good as Baker. I don't think he's as good as Baker, to be honest with you. I do know he's not as good as
we
Baker.
have already seen more from Baker this
For
year
sure.
than Hurts. Like, we have seen Baker facilitate a game-winning football drive, which I do not think Jalen Hurts would have been able to do against Houston.
Let me ask you this as a thought exercise. Let's say we flip Hurts with Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is the younger quarterback. Hurts is more physical because he's built for it, but Jaden Daniels is obviously a scrambler too, much like Hurts. How do you feel if we flip those two? Just flip offenses. We put Jaden Daniels with Philly. I think they still have that success, maybe even have a higher ceiling. I don't know.
They have a way higher ceiling.
What do you think Hurts
higher.
would look like with the Commanders' offense and Cliff Kingsbury's offense?
I think it would completely change that offense. I think with Washington, I would not consider them a run-first team right now. I think they're still definitely a pass-first team. They really trust Jaden to make all of the throws. He's still throwing it 30-plus times a game. If Hurts comes there, I think it's exactly a run-first team. I think they're going to have to try. There's going to be a lot more run QB runs, designed runs. Maybe they run a lot of option, and it's just, yeah, I think it completely changes the offense. Whereas I think Jaden Daniels coming to Philly, they could do anything. They could still be a run-first team, but then just be a super efficient passing team when they need it most. And I would trust them more having Jaden there than Jalen Hurts. So I would love that. Without a doubt, people try to make this argument that Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback right now than Jaden Daniels. We saw that in our TikTok comments from quite a few people. If Philly went to Washington right now and they said, "Hey, Jalen Hurts for Jaden Daniels," straight up, Washington would never
no.
accept that trade. Not
Absolutely.
1 in 1,000 times would they say sure. They would ask for, well, we need 3 first-round picks on top of that because Jaden Daniels' ceiling is much, much higher than Jalen Hurts. So
We might have to do that with Keenan next time he does his QB tiers. We might have to do like, what quarterbacks would you trade for Jalen Hurts? Like because he seems to be the most divisive out of his list. I think Hurts, and then Mahomes at number one. I think was the biggest debates we had during that the preseason QB tiers. So yeah, that'd be an interesting exercise to do as far as Hurts and other QBs. But moving back to this game, all that being said, I think I'm going to take Philly. And it's more of a proxy of all the travel. If this was an 8 p.m. game, if this was a primetime game, which, by the way, it should be, instead of fucking Giants versus Chiefs, I probably would be with you on the Rams because it is a revenge game for the Rams. But all that travel in Philly, 1 o'clock, that's just tough. And guess what? The type of teams that are built for it are the Rams, are a Sean McVay coach team, vet team. But I do think this pass rush can make shit tough for Matt Stafford. So I'm going to go with an ugly win for the Eagles. Let's call it 24-21. We're going in the same vein with these scores, but I'm going to go 24-21 field goal game.
that's like the only game that Philly can win. They're either going to win 24-21 or like 23-10. Like their defense is going to show up and their offense, I just don't have a lot of faith in them scoring more than 25 points, which is going to be a problem coming down the line here.
Thing with me, I think Philly by default, regardless of how I feel about Hurts as a quarterback, I think they have so much talent, you can kind of fall your way into 28 points. They don't have a rhythm as an offense like they did last year under Kellen Moore, but they do have enough talent to where if Saquon gets loose, let's say Saquon goes for $120, then that opens things up for Devontae and AJ Brown. And then it
that's
does
20 points right there. So yeah,
makes life easy on you. And then you do got Dallas Goedert back. So, and we did see Saquon kind of rip it up against the Rams last year. So I'm gonna go on the side of Saquon, AJ Brown, and my boy Hurts. 24-21 field goal. Next, you want to talk about a trap game? We got the Colts going to Tennessee. Colts are favored by 4.5 against Tennessee. How do you feel about this divisional game?
this was also a game that I don't want to bet this game at all. I'm just not comfortable. This is definition of a trap game. Colts look too good, but this is the Titans. This is a rookie QB. This is just a game that you can't write off this early in the season. I do think the Colts win this one, but I think it is kind of a shaky win. I think it's going to be a bit confusing. Maybe where they even have to go down and score to win it to put it away. So I'll go 17-15. I think middle teens is like the Titans. That's just what their scoring has been, and I think it will be most of the years or most of the weeks. So 17-15, decent win, but like an uncomfortable win for sure.
I'm actually going to roll with the Titans here. I'm going to go 24-20 over the Colts. I'm not ready to say the words Daniel Jones is on a 3-game win streak. I'm just not there yet. So Titans seem like they got to break it up. Titans seem like they got to get a win. Why wouldn't it be a divisional game early? I don't think the Titans head coach will be there after the season. I am not impressed at all with what Brian Callahan has showed us through 19 games. That being said, he's not going to go 0-17 this year. He's got to get some wins in there. I think this is one of them. So 24-20, Titans over the Colts. By the way, dome team going to grass, that's always got some history there too. So I do think it'll be a good game. But hey, if the Colts come out of this 3-0 and Daniel Jones looks any sort of promising, we're going to have some conversations about the Colts going forward. Because if you start off 3-0, win your divisional game, win against the Dolphins, then last week's win, albeit questionable, they really should be 1-1 going into this game. But hey, if he's 3-0 going into the last game in September, we will have to have some real conversations about Danny Dimes and the Indianapolis Colts. Any final thoughts on this game?
It's hard for Indy to start 3-0 in their division and not win the division or get close to 10 wins. So I agree.
Sure.
If they're 3-0 after this week, I think most people will be on board with Indianapolis just being good enough to win their division. I don't think anybody's going to take them to win a playoff game, but yeah.
Depends. I mean, if he keeps them rolling and then, we end up with a 16-0 Colts team, we might have to take them a little bit of serious, So, or maybe if they get to 12-0, I don't know, but we'll see. Jets at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buccaneers are favored by 6.5 against the traveling New York Jets. How do you assess this game, Timothy?
You say 6.5 or 5.5?
6.5.
6.5 against Tyrod Taylor. We get no Justin Fields this week for the concussion.
Correct.
I understand the line. I agree with it. This just feels like a game that Tampa won't have any issues, I don't think, with this team. This is also a Todd Bowles revenge game kind of deal, so let him go coach his ass off on defense and make Tyrod Taylor look like a fourth-rate quarterback, and then we get a 26-10 win. That's exactly how I'll take it.
See, I actually think this is going to be a competitive game. Tyrod's one of the better backups in the league. I think he's already had a Jets stint. It's hard to tell because it seems like he's on like a variety of teams just in general.
He was on both the Jets and the Giants at one point.
Yeah. Yeah. So you couple that with A, him being a serviceable backup, B, the Jets have real talent on both sides of the ball. And I don't love how Tampa Bay's defense has looked as far as the pass defense goes. I think you can still get some yards on them. I don't know if that'll be the case later on in the year, but right now, as they're finding themselves, I think you can throw on them. And not ready to pick against the Bucs. I'm not going to do all that. I think the Bucs will win, but I do think the Jets will cover. So let's call it 27-23 Buccaneers. And I think this will be a fun game overall, honestly. I think Tyrod will put the fear of God in them a little bit here and there, but I think they'll be well coached. Any final thoughts on that game before we move on to a spectacular backup game, backup QB matchup? Yeah? All right. Bengals going to Minnesota. Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. We got Carson Wentz favored by 3 against the Bengals. Vikings are 1-1. Bengals are 2-0 going to Minnesota. And again, just an unreal backup quarterback matchup. How do you feel about this game? Honestly, this is one of the games I'm most excited about this Sunday.
I was just about to say, I think this is the most excited I'll be about a game. I just love Jake Browning. I don't know why. He just seems to play like he's pretty much Jameis, where he's going to throw a couple picks, but he's also probably going to throw some touchdowns. He's probably going to be in the game at all points. I'm pretty sure the over-under for this game is only like 41 or something like that. It was
42.
low 40s last
42 and
42. I'm taking the over, man. I think this game gets closer to like 60 points. So I'm going to take it 28-27 Cincinnati. They're going to keep their hopes alive here, go to 3-0 on the season. And then people are going to be like, I'm telling you, if Burrow comes back, we're going to win the Super Bowl this year. But it's not going to be like that. He's not coming back this year. So Jake Browning, you're going to keep a lot of people's hopes alive.
So do you think Jake Browning will make a playoff run with this roster?
He almost did it when Burrow went down
3 years
ago. Yeah. They were like one game out.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember specifically he had to play the Vikings when the Vikings had it was either Nick Mullins or Josh Dobbs off the bench that week when Kirk went down with his ACL, and we got a barn burner that game. It was like a last second Bengals comeback, 28 or something like that. It was a super good game. So I think
I roughly remember that game.
I think we get a very similar game to that. Double backups, playing for nothing. Might as well just go ball out. And since he has the offense to do it against a good defense like Minnesota, or at least who we think is a good defense like Minnesota, and then since his defense still isn't great, so Minnesota's backup should be able to take advantage of that.
So if Browning gets a 3-0 cushion, what do you give the Bengals for playoff chances? You think they miss out, or do you think that 3-0 cushion's enough to?
I don't think it's enough. I really don't. It'll be close. So I think they'll probably finish like 8 or 9 wins again, like we did with Browning the first time. So I guess playoff chances are probably like 50%, 40%, probably a little bit lower than that.
2 reasons, Tim, why I'm looking forward to this game so much. One is you kind of illustrated it. I love nothing more than a competent backup quarterback, but not only that, but a backup quarterback who has a handle on the offense because they've been there so long, right? So like obviously Jake Browning's not as good as Joe Burrow, but in some cases, like Josh McCown back in the day, he would fill in for Jay Cutler, and he would have as much success, if not more. And you knew Jay Cutler had more ability, but you could almost talk yourself into Josh McCown getting more starts. We saw recently with it's my man, redhead that played for the Cowboys backup.
Andy Dalton?
No. The career backup. He's no longer there.
Oh, Cooper Rush.
Yes, Cooper Rush. Yeah, like
yeah.
You would sometimes have Cowboys fans talking themselves into Cooper Rush, even though Dak is obviously the quarterback with more ability, right? But Cooper Rush simplified the offense, that type of thing. So I love backups for that reason. Other reason why I love this matchup and why I love the backup quarterbacks here, Carson Wentz is going to treat this like the fucking Super Bowl. Like, nobody feels more wrong than Carson Wentz in his career, right? Like, everything that happened in Philly, just been back and forth ever since then, more back than forth. But McCarthy's going to be out, what, a month? At least 2 weeks for sure, right? He's not an IR, is he?
I think they said 2 to 5, but so the hope is, without putting him on IR, to be less than 4. So
let's say for sure he gets 2 starts. And what if they average 25 points a game? Then you're going to have a real controversy here with JJ McCarthy not looking good in the first 2 weeks. Granted, he got that win, but there's going to be some support for Carson Wentz, probably from the Minnesota media and Minnesota fans, especially if they look anything close to what they did against Bradford. So for that reason, not only am I rooting for the Minnesota Vikings, I'm picking the Minnesota Vikings. Give me unnecessary quarterback controversy, because I swear to God, if they do something like 30-13 on the Bengals, and then go whoever they have in week 4, like they go and win convincingly, give me all of that awkwardness. Give me all of that. I want all the chaos when it comes to these backup quarterbacks and quarterback controversies. So, and besides that, honestly, we just put these 2 teams together with backups. I like the Vikings roster better than the Bengals. Bengals defenses look promising at times, but in general, I like the Vikings roster better. So let's get a shootout to it. Actually, you know what? No, let's get, just for my chaos that I want, we're picking the Vikings in a blowout. We're going to go 34-16 Vikings. Carson Wentz revenge tour. Carson Wentz renaissance. Let's go.
I love it. I think if 2 years ago you said, hey, I'm from the future and I'm about to tell you something. Sam Darnold starts 17 games for the Vikings in 2024, and then Carson Wentz starts 15 games for the Vikings in 2025. Who are you more confident in? I probably would have said Carson Wentz. I probably would have said that. I think he had a better stint in the NFL when he was good. With Darnold, we really never saw it. So it would not shock me if O'Connell just works his magic again and just gets a starting caliber quarterback out of his backup again.
2 things there, 2 responses to that. One, the thing with Carson Wentz, he has way more ability than most backups. Like, he went number 2 in that draft, right? Goff was 1, Wentz was 2.
Yep.
And the reason why he was so highly touted, and the reason why he was an MVP candidate to begin with, he has so much ability. He has so much arm talent and mobility. He probably doesn't have the mobility anymore, but he's got real talent and real ability compared to most of your backup quarterbacks. So if they do get something popping here with him, it'll be super interesting. Second thing, talk about going in the past and telling like old you 3 years ago, like what would happen. Imagine if you gave him the full story and said, oh, by the way, Darnold won 14 games for
Yeah.
this Vikings team. Then he went to the Seahawks so they could put in this rookie quarterback. And oh, by the way, the rookie quarterback didn't look good the first 2 weeks. Then that's how we got Wentz. That would be wild. It sounds crazy even just saying all that out loud, but it really happened. Next game, though, we got Texans going to Jacksonville. Brandon Petty's Jacksonville Jaguars. Shouts to Brandon. Shouts to Keenan, too, by the way. But Texans are a 1.5-point underdog in Jacksonville. How do you feel about this game? You alluded to the Texans getting their defensive issues corrected. So how do you feel about them 0-2 going to Jacksonville?
I like the Texans in this game. I think they will come to play. I think they've pretty much come to play in both their first two games. Things just haven't really gone right for them to end the football games both weeks here. I think the defense, without a doubt, is miles ahead of where Jacksonville's defense is, and I think the offense still has enough pieces, even though at times it just seems like it's C.J. Stroud and Nico Collins, and he hasn't even really been involved a lot this year. I still think they can get it going, so I am going to take Houston here. I think that they win this football game. I think Vegas is also pretty much telling us that this is more of a pick 'em than it is a 1.5-point favorite, because usually they give you like 2 or 3 points for the home team anyways. So I'll take Houston 20-17. I think it'll be a good little game here. One thing I heard today, I was listening to a little podcast about fantasy football. CJ Stroud in fantasy, a 20-point football game for a fantasy quarterback is like not an hour league because we have 6-point touchdowns and more yards or points for yards, but a 20-point game is like a solid game for a quarterback. That's good. He hasn't had that since week 4 of last year. So it's been a long time since we've seen like an actual stat game from CJ Stroud. I don't think it necessarily comes here. I'm only giving him 20 points. So it's not like he can really get there with that. But I'm starting to question the offensive future in Houston, just because it really right now seems like it's CJ Stroud and Nico Collins versus the world. I know they took 2 wide receivers, but this offensive line was an issue. It hasn't gotten any better. Yeah, it's going to ail them for a long time.
Yeah, this is an interesting game. This is another one of the games I'm looking forward to most. Texans Jaguars is usually a good matchup depending on the rosters involved, obviously. Texans are going to be desperate. And the fact that they're a 1.5-point underdog here, I mean, they really could have just made this a pick 'em. I mean, 1.5 is the new 3 in general. We've seen that over the last couple of years. But a game like this in particular, where the Jags don't inspire anything of confidence, like week 1 was cool. Last week they should have won, but they still seem like the same old Jaguars as far as like mental mistakes, especially T. Law. Though he did look good early. Like there was times early, I hit the group chat last week, like he looked like a competent, above average quarterback at times. Then he'll just go ahead and throw a pick. That being said, I agree with everything you said about the Texans. That defense is still real, even though the run defense hasn't looked good. My problem with them, man, is exactly that. It seems like we have new issues for them every week. Okay, it's the run defense. The offensive line still isn't good. They've got to get it going. Like we've talked about desperate teams. They are super desperate. So if they go to 0-3, they really might be the season that you predicted for them, right? They really might be the season of hell. They really might have a 5-win team, which honestly might bode well for them when it comes to this, when it comes to their roster. I think they're going to win, though. I think they need a win. I'm going to go 23-17 rather than 2017. Feels like I picked that quite a bit. Seems like I've settled on that score quite a bit this podcast, but I'm going to go with 23-17. It feels that way. They need a win.
Preseason, when we were picking our teams, I plot out every single game throughout the year to get my records. I picked the Texans to be 4-2 in their division and to win 5 games. So this is one of the 4. This is where it starts. This is where they start to get a couple wins.
It's a wild season. That's a disgusting season.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Speaking of disgusting, Saints going to Seattle to face the Seahawks. Seahawks are a 7.5-point favorite. Uh, Let me just say this. I think that line is way too high. I don't think the Seahawks deserve to be favored by 7.5 over anybody. That's all I'll say. Go ahead.
That's totally fair, especially the way that Louisiana has played. I think they've played pretty damn good these first 2 weeks.
Never,
So,
never heard New Orleans called Louisiana in my life. But
I
I kind
was
of like
just
it.
thinking that. I was like, the Louisiana Saints, but you can call them whatever. It's whatever. Um, Damn. I I think it'll be close. I really do. And if
I
anything,
agree
I
with
think
you.
it's just a backdoor cover to get within the spread. Like I agree, that's too many points, but uh damn, let's say 24-19. They're gonna go for a 2-point conversion to get it within a field goal and not get it. And that's where they get to the 19. So
I'm going to go 22-18 Seahawks. They do have a good roster, though I don't love this team in general. Like, there's people who are picking them for the division. Can't get there. I cannot get there. Like, they just seem way too inconsistent. That being said, Sam Darnold's good enough to win some games. Obviously, he's good enough to win 14 on the right roster. But I think he's more of a 7-8 win quarterback with this roster. All that being said, we're talking about the Louisiana Saints. I've told you, I've said this since before the season. I don't think they're going to be that bad. And not only that, through 2 games, I don't think they're the worst team in the division. There's a good chance Carolina is still the worst team in that division. Rattler hasn't looked bad at all. He can move the ball. He is yet to win his first game, though, start to finish, and I don't think it's going to be this week either, unfortunately. If this was Seattle going to Louisiana and facing the Saints, okay. But the fact that they're playing at the 12th man, probably the toughest stadium to play, especially when the Seahawks are rolling. But even when they're not, it's still one of the toughest places to play. I'm going to go 22-18 Seahawks. Then next we have Broncos Chargers. Chargers are favored by 3. Don't really understand why this isn't a 1.5-point game as far as spread goes, but Chargers are favored by 3. Divisional game. Broncos coming off a heartbreaking loss. You can make a case, though, if you're a denier of the Broncos, you can make a strong case that they should be 0-2 going into this game, and they're sitting at 1-1. So, how do you feel about this game? This is, by the way, this is my AFC West divisional winner versus your AFC West divisional winner. So,
this is very true.
preseason.
I think I could really see either team winning here. Being a divisional battle, I think we could get that low-scoring defensive game. I think we could get a game similar to the Colts-Broncos game last week. I'm just more confident in Los Angeles than I am in Denver right now. So I'll take it 24-21. Nice game. I think the Broncos are going to have this kind of theme all throughout the season where they just lose close games by field goals. And I picked them to miss the playoffs anyways, so I think getting to 9 wins, they can still do that. But I think they'll just be unlucky on their one-score games this year.
I'm having trouble with this game because if the Broncos are the team I said they would be, they should win this game. And really, they should have won last week's game, right? That being said, the Chargers are the best version of what, or at least in that Chiefs game, they were the best version of what they could be. They kind of tried to give that game away on Monday night against the Raiders. Last year, this particular matchup was a close matchup, as it should be. You got 2 elite coaches. You got 2 kind of vet teams. You got a young QB, obviously, in Bo Nix, who has not looked good through 2 games. And that's really my hang up here. I really want to pick the Broncos, kind of go along with them winning the division. And especially if the Chargers win this, they're kind of running away with the division at this point. Are the Chargers that team? Are they going to be that team this year that really runs away with that AFC West, that really just kind of puts the Chiefs, this era of the Chiefs, to bed? I don't know. That's the thing with these early season matchups. We only have 2 games to go off, and those 2 games, the Chargers, though they looked questionable last week, they got the win. They look better than the Broncos. I'm going to roll with the Broncos, though. I shouldn't. My instincts tell me not to, But hey, I need a win. I'm like 500 to 2 weeks. It's been an awful start for me as far as picks go, and they're my divisional winner. But my heart says, my head says go with the Chargers, but my heart says go with the Broncos because you need a win, and all the other selfish reasons. So ugly game. Let's say 17-15 field goal wins for the Broncos. They redeemed their field goal loss last week against the Colts. Any final thoughts or move on?
Good to move on.
All right. This is actually one of my favorite games of the week. We talked about backup QBs. We've got the Cardinals going to San Francisco to play the Niners. The Niners are a 2.5-point favorite. The Niners are led by your boy, Mac Jones. Tim, how do you feel? How do you feel about this game?
I sent you that meme. When the Glock Purdy jams, you pull out the Mac 10.
Pull out the
I'm
Mac.
just saying, this is going to be a San Francisco W. I think it's going to be a convincing W. I think defensively, I was actually talking to my brother today about some fantasy, and he had asked me if he should play A.J. Brown versus the Rams or Marvin Harrison against the 49ers. And I was like, I have no confidence in either one of those plays. So I don't have a good answer for you. I don't love Marvin Harrison in this game. You can give me Trey McBride all day long. And then the running back tandem there is pretty good in Arizona. But I just think defensively, the 49ers will get the best of them. So give it to me 24-13. Very convincing win here. And then the usual talks about Kyler Murray being a mid quarterback will consume most of the NFL.
Yeah, the Cardinals are one of my playoff teams preseason. They're 2-0 right now. They're catching points against the 49ers, right? 2.5. Like, they're not even favored against Mac Jones. I kind of agree with that because I think the 49ers are going to win. I'm with you there. Completely with you. And I kind of wanted, I mean, you've already heard me kind of gush about Mac Jones and how he looks in this offense on Wednesday's show, if you listen to that. And like Tim just said, the whole Mac 10 thing, like, I'm on the whole Mac Jones, Kyle Shanahan train when it comes to this. And I can visualize Mac Jones just winning this game. Like, we've seen games like this in the past. I think it's going to be a little closer. We'll say 25-23, right? 49ers are going to win. But what you just said about Marvin Harrison, I want to kind of have this little sidebar conversation. How do you feel about him? Now, 1 season and 2 games in, he's not very involved in the offense. Whether that's a problem of him or Kyler Murray, I think it's more of a product of him, honestly. Are you worried about his stock? Because he was seen as a generational talent coming out of college. Do you think he just ends up being a just mid-tier receiver that never lives up, but is never necessarily all the way a bust, but doesn't live up to his stock? Or do you think he eventually gets there? It's just growing pains.
I think he has, without a doubt, the potential to get there. What he needs is an Aaron Rodgers darkness retreat to teach him that he needs to give every single play everything he's ever got. Because they did x-rays on this man. There ain't no dog in this man. It's a big old kitty cat in there. I swear to God. Half the plays he just gives up because he knows it's not going to him. And
So it's
even
an effort
when
thing with him.
it's an effort thing.
Okay.
Half the time he gets a target, he doesn't go all out for it. He just goes, it's a bad ball. OBJ will go all out for it in his prime. Like he knew that 50% of those deep balls from Eli were going to be trash balls, but he could go get them.
True.
That's what Marvin Harrison needs to do. He needs to get that dog. He needs Marvin Harrison Sr. I don't know. Maybe he needs somebody else to just smack him around a bit and say, hey, you gotta go all out every single play. You can't just take plays off. You can't just be a kitty cat on the field. Have that dog because you are talented enough. You are athletic enough. You are everything you need to be a wide receiver. You just need it up here in the mental. So he can definitely be there. I don't know if it's with Arizona, or at least I don't know if it's with Kyler. Maybe that's just the biggest thing, is he's not fully trusting in Kyler's ability to get him a good ball, but it's right now on Marvin Harrison. So
It's weird because I've never thought Kyler's elite, but I do think Kyler's one of those quarterbacks like who's like good in fantasy. He can put up stats. He can throw the ball deep. He actually has a pretty good deep ball. So he should be like in the most or close to the most out of Marvin Harrison. But if you're telling me it's an issue of effort, that's very surprising given that he is Marvin Harrison's son. You don't usually see this out of sons of former athletes and especially former elite athletes, and especially the level of prospect he was coming out of Ohio State. Um, you said he might need smacking around from his pops. I'm in your league, so you know what my team name is. I won't elaborate on air, but let me just say, yes, Marvin Harrison Sr. is exactly the guy to smack around Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Sr., quiet as could be in his career. Like, we never heard of him. Like, it was always a debate between him, Randy Moss, and Terrell Owens, who's the best receiver. And people wouldn't really pick Marvin Harrison because he was so quiet. And this is all I'm going to say to the listeners and the viewers. Look up Marvin Harrison's Wikipedia page, Marvin Harrison Sr. You will see some surprises once you get past the football career. That's all I'll say. It's an interesting read. Go ahead and do that. And then you'll understand why I say he is the person to smack around Marvin Harrison Jr. Moving on to the next game, though. Let me see where I'm at. Oh, this is another one of my favorites here. Cowboys going to Chicago to face the Bears. The Bears are a 1.5 point underdog to the Cowboys on the road. I think earlier in the week they were actually favored. Now that's flipped. How do you feel about this game, Tim?
I think we get a barn burner here. I think the Cowboys against Chicago's defense could easily score a ton of points, and I think that the Chicago offense could like get rid of a lot of their issues against Dallas if Deron Bland does not play, because he's kind of their lockdown corner. Trayvon Diggs has always been a boomer bust corner. So I actually think we get a really good game here. They've already set the over at 50 points, so I think Vegas thinks we're going to get a damn good game too. I think Dallas comes out on top. I think they are just a better overall team, and right now I would trust Dak more than Caleb. So I'll take it. Damn, another good game, another high-scoring game from Dallas 2 weeks in a row. Give it to me 31-27. Good game.
Yeah, this should be a spot where we're looking at the Bears as, especially at plus 1.5 at home, where you're saying, okay, this is a get right spot for you guys. You're 0-2. And maybe we should overlook the Lions Bears game because clearly the Lions had that circled on their calendar with, the whole history of Ben Johnson and everything. And it's a divisional game on top of that. All my instincts tell me to take the Bears here, but I can't. I just think the Cowboys are the better team. And I think the Cowboys have a lot to play for. I think the Cowboys see. I've said this again, and I know like last week's game was a shootout. Last week's game with the Giants was an all-time classic. Through 2 games, I'm kind of impressed with Brian Schottenheimer. Like, he actually looks like a decent coach. Like, he looks like he's got the respect of the players. Looks like the Cowboys know what they're doing when they're on the field. They don't seem out of sorts. So I'm impressed. Chicago's a tough place to play, fans-wise and field-wise. It's one of the worst fields to play on. But there's nothing about the Chicago Bears that gives me confidence at all right now. To the point where, yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to put up points. Let's go Cowboys 34. Let's go Bears 24. 10-point win. I just have no confidence in the Bears right now. I really don't. I do like how Roma Dunze looks. That I'm impressed with that through 2 weeks. Everything else, Caleb, Ben Johnson might be the guy, but man, I have more and more questions every week when it comes to Caleb Williams every time I see him play. And especially when you got it, Monday night, then you got a Lions game last week that everyone was looking forward to. Then now you have the Cowboys. You're going to have a lot of eyes on you. And if this game goes poorly and he loses like we think he's going to, I think we're going to have a lot of talk, like as far as NFL media goes in the weeks moving forward, but especially after this week if it goes poorly. Any more comments before we go to the Sunday night game?
Brian Schottenheimer is a thunderstorm away from being 2-0 right now. That's
thunderstorm
my take.
Away?
Yep. If that thunderstorm
that's right. Yeah, we
doesn't
did get a
happen
little
week
delay.
1, I think that their offense would have kept rolling. I think they would have scored, and I think the Cowboys very well could have won that football game. So,
fair enough. Listen, Chiefs going to New Jersey to face the Giants. They are, I think this says 5.5. That was 6.5 all week. Now it's 5.5. I'm going to say this. I'm going to let you go because this is your team. This is your team, and you've actually already picked this game in the preseason for those who have listened. So
picked it in the preseason, doubled down 2 weeks ago. I tripled down this week. The New York Giants will defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. I did not know that both teams would be 0-2 right now. I actually saw a funny meme where it was like some Giants fan in the offseason just wishing that the Giants would have the same record as the Chiefs. And it comes true, but they're both 0-2, so like we suck anyways. But every time the Giants play on prime time, it's an ugly, lower scoring game. We saw it last year against the Bengals, 17-7. Graham Gano walk-off field goal, 17-16. Book it. Giants W.
Good Lord. Good Lord. I no longer think the Chiefs are elite. That's my takeaway through 2 games, and that could change. That could change by the time I do my week 6 tiers. I doubt it will by week 6, but maybe by the week 12 tiers. Maybe I think maybe there's a Tyreek Hill trade, or maybe something's happened to change my opinion on the Chiefs. I do think they're a good team, though. And I feel very much how I felt last year when the Ravens were 0-2. And I said, are the Ravens really going to go 0-3? And Keenan said yes, and they're going to fire John Harbaugh. And thought that was insane. But I'm like, look, the Ravens really going to go 0-3? That's how I feel about the Chiefs. The Chiefs really going to go 0-3? I don't think so. If they lose to the Giants, they have got huge problems. If they lose to the Giants, and especially if the Chargers win on Sunday afternoon, and then the Chiefs go to 0-3, they have humongous problems. So I feel the exact same way as when Keenan said, not only do I think the Ravens lose, but John Harbaugh's gone. I feel the same way as you saying the Giants are going to beat the Chiefs in prime time. That seemed kind of crazy when you picked it beforehand, especially because we thought the Chiefs would at least have 1 win, but 0-2 playing for their season essentially. And let's be real here. Do you really think the NFL and seemingly, I don't want to make any accusations, but I mean, we've seen some cases where it seems like the refs have a little affinity for Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Travis Kelce and the Swifties and all that.
We're seeing a ripple effect from last week. Now we're being told that Philadelphia is going to be refed tightly, was how they worded it, against all tush pushes. They're going to really keep their eye out to see if anybody's jumping off sides, if anybody's lining up in the neutral zone. And the only reason is because they played Kansas City last week. If they had did that against Tennessee last week, nobody would say anything. They'd say, yeah, they ran the tush push 7 straight plays and they won the game 20 to whatever. They would just walk on by. But
Swifties made the call, man. The Swifties are a powerful group. They probably made the call to the NFL offices, honestly. So
this country is going to get burned down because the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be 0-3. The Swifties are going to be like, no.
It might happen.
No more season.
Let me tell you, if we come in on Monday or whenever we record next, we come in to whenever. If we come in and the Chiefs are 0-3 and the Giants either win the way you talk about, like on a last second field goal, or if the Giants like handle them, that's going to be an interesting show. That's all I'm going to say. And I just can't imagine it right now. Even as much as their offense looks just disgusting, even as much as their defense isn't like holding up their end of things, even though I guess you could say they did against Philly, but Philly's looking to play that way. There's no way. I think Mahomes, who's on pace for like 1,000 yards, Mahomes will run for 200 yards on Sunday if he has to, if he's got to win this game. So give me the Chiefs. Give me, man, I don't even know how to score this game because the Giants actually do have some explosion. Scattaboo breakout game, by the way. It was kind of a mini breakout game against the Cowboys, but I think this is going to be like a breakout game for him on Sunday night. I think we're going to get that offensive rookie of the year train rolling after this game. So I really don't know how to score it. I can't imagine the Chiefs going above 24. I'll say 24-20. 24-20. Giants are definitely going to cover, though. At 5.5, they should cover that. And the more I talk about it, though, the more they do have the makings to win this game. We saw the Chargers throw all over them. If they're aggressive this game, they can put the fear of God in the Chiefs. Will the refs let it happen? And will Patrick Mahomes let it happen? I can't imagine they're going to go to 0-3. I can't even say those words. So, no. Chiefs are going to win this game. Again, 24-20. Giants cover. ugly game. We'll all be pissed that we watched it, and then the Swifties will not burn down the country because the Chiefs are 0-3. If it goes the way Tim goes, though, yeah, maybe Monday will be a rough day, but won't be too rough because we should get the game of the week here with the Ravens and the Lions. Detroit going to Baltimore. Believe Baltimore. Let me look at this. I think I'm on the week 4 games, actually. Hold on, let me back up a little here.
I think they were like 5.5
Five
point
and a
favorite.
half. 5.5.
Yeah.
5.5 point favorite. Ravens, Lions, who many thought was going to be the Super Bowl matchup last year. We get the matchup here on Monday night. How do you feel, Tim?
You know, the last time Detroit played in Baltimore handed them their own ass. It was like 35-10. It was really, really bad. Um, I don't quite see it being that bad of a game. Um, I I I want to pick a big blowout win for Baltimore here, but I think Detroit's defense last week at least showed us that they're still here. They're still ready to play. So I'm actually gonna go. I'll take the Ravens still. I think 5.5 is too many points. So I'll just take it a field goal, 27-24. I think Detroit looks pretty damn good in this game, but you're playing against the Ravens, so good ain't going to win it. You're going to need to be great.
I'm going to go 35-32 Ravens. 5.5 always makes me want to take the Lions in this situation, getting 5.5. But the Ravens are so good at home. I could see them opening it up on them. I think it's going to be a close game. That being said, like if it's chilly at all, that does not fare well for Jared Goff in the outdoors. Like that's been a recipe for him not to do well, especially if they can get to the quarterback at all. Like it could be a rough night for him. That being said, I don't see Derrick Henry having back-to-back bad games. And if that's the case and the Ravens are living in the red zone, the Lions are kind of built for like being down 10 points and just putting up points anyway with all the weapons they have on offense. And they could get you a stop here or there, and they could get you an interception here or there. So let's hope for points. Let's hope for the Super Bowl matchup that was supposed to be last year that we never got. And let's say it's going to be 35-32, a high-scoring affair, and one of the best games of the season. Let's hope for that. I'll even give you overtime. Overtime 35-32. Any final thoughts before we depart, Tim?
No, I think this week is not as chalk as last week. I think with me, Keenan, and Brandon, we all got pretty close to going perfect. So I don't think that that's the case this week. I think there are a lot of games this week that are going to flip, and we're going to take a lot different here. So
Yeah, the pick gods have been against me for whatever reason the first 2 weeks, which almost makes me think like, oh, you'll never believe what happened. We'll look back on week 3 as the week that like Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and like ex quarterback got injured. Like they all just got lost for the season. Like that's the kind of luck I'm getting with these picks lately. So hopefully that's not the case. This is a good week. And I told you guys a few weeks ago, I told you and Brandon, I think when we were doing our bets pod, I told you that for whatever reason, I looked at week 4, and week 4 is just like a perfect slate of games. Like it is from Sunday morning. It's our first London affair. We get a doubleheader on Monday night. I don't remember the whole lineup, but like just the way it's spread out, like it's perfect. Like there's matchups all over. Uh, the standalone games are good. The London game's good. The Monday night games are good. Like it's perfect. So that's next week. But that's me looking ahead because week 2 was weird with the matchups. Week 3 is even weirder. I kind of hate divisional games this early. I almost feel like they should start after week 4, but I understand it. You got to fit them in where you fit them in. But I don't know. So what do you think we come out of week 3 saying? Because this whole decade so far, your first month is primarily ugly football with a few games here and there, like hitting the over. Or you get a couple bad teams that get into shootouts. Last week was full of points. Week 1 was full of unders. What do you think we come out of week 3 saying?
I think the real talk of the town will be Philadelphia, and they'll be like, all right, we got a real issue with not getting wide receivers involved, not taking any deep shots. Like this offense, although it will win them a handful of games, like they'll probably get up to the 10-win mark, is not going to be a Super Bowl offense. I think we're going to have a pretty similar opinion of how the Chiefs were last year, where we were like, this dark magic has to run out at some point, like they're just getting really lucky with a lot of these one-score games. But Philly's not going to be as lucky as them. They're going to come out of this 11-6 or 10-7, and it's just going to be an ugly game. So I think they will continue to be the talk of the town. After 2 weeks, they've kind of been the talk already. So that's my take.
You said dark magic, and you reminded me of one of my favorite tweets that I saw last year. I can't remember if it was a late season game or if it was a playoff game, but it was one of the games where the Chiefs won in like a ridiculous fashion. It was probably the Bills game. And some girl, she tweeted in all caps, "They're burning kids under the stadium." Just like they're sacrificing and burning kids under the stadium. And I got a good laugh about it because, I mean, that's what it seems like the Chiefs are doing to win these games. But that luck has seemed to run out so far. I had no feel for week 2 going into it. Like I thought it was going to be a weird week, and clearly it was. Judging by my picks, clearly it was chalk for you guys. You guys predicted it well, but I kind of feel the same way about week 3, where it's just like weird matchups, 0-2s that I wasn't expecting to be 0-2. So you got desperate teams where you weren't expecting them. But then it really feels like after this week, the season really does seem to start and get into its swing of things. Like once you get to that first London week, get to weeks 4, 5, and 6, that's really where the season starts. You really start to get a rhythm and a feel for who these teams are. So, yeah, man, we're already at week 3. It's kind of crazy. Before you know it, we'll be talking about week 9, week 10, week 11, week 16. So, moves quick. Listen, this was the Warner Brothas Podcast. This was Kyle. This was Tim Gray. We'll be back. We'll be back sometime. I guess we'll be back actually Sunday afternoon in between games. So you'll hear us reacting to what will probably be a wild week, a wild Sunday afternoon. And check out our podcast from this past week, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all that. Follow us, Spotify, Apple. Listen to us. We'll be back. Peace. Boom.